Welcome back to another series on OddAlerts, and this is how to build a football betting bot. Try saying that after a few pints on a Friday. So on the left side, we have a Python file, and this is me skipping ahead and showing you what we're going to build, and it's very, very, very simple intentionally at this first stage, just because I want this first episode to be about you understanding the API, how it works, what you might use it for, what you also don't need to know, because I think a lot of people... I'm assuming that a lot of the people that want to get started with football data and creating some models or just creating their own football database and running experiments or creating bots, I'm assuming a lot of you don't know how to code and also might be a bit scared of jumping into learning how to code, and because there's so much to take in, right? But you don't need to take it all in, because at this moment you only have one goal, which is creating a football bot, using this data in one simple way, and then you can expand. That's how you learn. That's how you learn how to code. You have to have a project in mind. You have to have a desired outcome, as the filters would say on OddAlerts. Because trust me, believe me, it will help you so much. So whilst I'm rambling at the start of this video, just have a think to yourself, what project, what outcome do you want? And keep it simple. We're going to be using the Trends API endpoint in this first series, and you can see I've got home wins here, and I'll just press play on this Python file, and it's going to go away and it's going to give me the first page of all of the teams, so we can see the home name and the home win percentage is being output in the file, and we can see we've got a lot of teams that are just 100%. So yeah, have a think using all the trends data. What sort of team or market or opportunity do you want to find? And we're also going to create a Telegram bot in this series as well. So first we're going to be grabbing the data, we're going to be just explaining the API to you as well. I think that's important, that you fundamentally just understand how it works, and then we will be creating a Telegram bot based on some parameters from the trends data. So on the right, we have the API landing page. The API is probably just over a month old now in terms of the public release. Obviously, the season ticket holders have been testing it for well over a year, and creating very cool things. If you want to jump in the Discord, get in the Discord if you're not in there already. Go to oddalerts.com/Discord. You do need to be a pro member or API subscriber to get in there, but I think the value of the Discord speaks for itself. To see people sort of chipping away and creating their own like bots and systems and theories, it's really cool. And I'm hoping this series can inspire more people to just have a go and just test and develop. And yeah, I don't think anybody regrets getting started. And I started to make a series of videos that were so sort of boring and technical around Python, and I hope to launch them when the API launched, and I recorded them, but I wasn't. They're not good. They're not what they need to be. I'm putting myself in the shoes of the audience. Like, as I said before, I expect you to not know how to code, but I also expect you to not have the time to learn how to code. Or, you might have a job, you might have kids. This is for people that have existing lives. You're not 18, 19 again like I was when I learned to code. You can't just sort of spend every hour, every night working on stuff. But with the tools available now, I'm going to be using ChatGPT in a few examples as well, because I think for someone learning how to make applications or just hack away at things, I wish I had ChatGPT. It is phenomenal. Just a couple of things first. You will need to install Python on your system. A lot of systems come with it installed. Python itself, you can just download it from their website, and it has an installer that it will take you through. It is pretty easy to install. So again, the first video series that I made, it was like, and here's how we install it. Let's just wait for it to install. And the history of Python is that, and I was it was too formal. I want to keep this series intentionally simple and focus on the foundations of the API, grabbing the data, seeing what you can do. Here's all the things you could do, because then it sort of puts it back in your court, doesn't it? I don't want to provide something that you copy line for line, that when something doesn't work, it's like, right, oh, that's it, I'm just going to drop this. I want to create a series here where you feel like you can just go away on your own and build any idea that comes into your head. If you are on a Mac, you can do, is it Python -- version? Yeah, and it'll show you if you've got it installed. If you've got ChatGPT, you can just tell it what system you've got if you're having some troubles. If you get an error whilst you're installing it or anything, just put it in ChatGPT. You will get it sorted within a few messages. And the next thing I would recommend you installing is Visual Studio Code. Because if you're working with Python files, you can just click this play button, and as we saw before, it will just work there. It'll just give you the output. So yeah, very good for testing. And in terms of testing, I'm going to now show you how you can connect your API and just see the raw data in the browser. So sort of high level version of testing. So on the API landing page, if you're subscribed, you will see your API token here. This is my test one for this series, and I'll just walk you through some of the endpoints so you can get a feel for the data that you can access. So we've got the value bets, the upcoming, and of course the results from the last few days. You can see the next 7 days in terms of upcoming value bets. You can filter by market, you can filter by the odds, and of course, because you've got the raw data, you can save it and then you can do whatever you like with it. You can create a database, you can back test, you can create alerts that get sent to you. Odds history, you can view the opening, closing, and peak odds for all of the games in the database. You can view dropping odds data as well, which is obviously quite powerful. The trends, as I mentioned, is the one we are going to be using for this tutorial. So the market trends by team, which powers the trends page. And I'll just open that in a new tab whilst I explain the other endpoint. So the predictions engine, you can now basically use it on demand to generate a prediction using the probability model. You can actually call and request predictions for multiple games at a time. And finally, last but certainly not least, the fixtures endpoint, which allows you to view all of the fixtures on OddAlerts. You can filter by time, so show me all of the games between November and January, the winter months, let's say, in England, and show me all those games and, include the odds, include the probability, include the stats. And then I'm going to run an experiment on those winter months, and I will get back to you. You get an idea, you get a theory, and you're able to put it into practice. So I'm going to show you now, as I said, on a high level. High level is probably the wrong word, but just sort of a low fidelity level. So we have our API token. I'm going to copy it. And you can see I practiced here before. I'm just going to, so data.oddalerts/API, and then we're going to go /, and you can see that my autocomplete is coming in here, but we'll go to /trends/home_win, and then we'll go API_token equals, and then we paste our key in there. And it looks like a mess right now, but give it a second, and the Chrome plugin that I have, which is called JSON View, will make it look nice and will make it clickable as well. So you can click in and out of some of the games, and you can just take a look at some of the data that's coming in, and you can see what data you have access to. So it's a very good way to just see a top level, a bird's eye view of one of the endpoints, because when the application gets it, it's in JSON, which is a text format, of course, which is just as compact as it can be, so that the application can process it, but also can turn it into objects and data points that you can interact with within the Python file. And just again, if you want to get the Chrome extension that formats it so that it looks nice, it is called JSON, JSON, and then View, VUE. So JSON, not as in the name, and View, not as in the, what a nice view. So this is the data we're going to be working with, and you can see side by side in our file, just go through it again at a sort of top level, import requests. At the top of your Python files, this is where you're going to import stuff. So if you imagine this is the sort of heading area, and then underneath it, we just have all of our code. So in this heading area, we will always import stuff, and if there's any top level variables, so let's say your API token, maybe you can create a variable. So to do that in Python, you just type what it's going to be called, and we'll say API token, equals, and then we will just paste it in here. And I've got this GitHub Copilot, which is also something I would recommend. Maybe once you're coding a bit more regularly, because it is a paid plugin. But as you can see, all I have to do is press tab, and it knows that is the API token that I want to put in there. Of course it is. And if we then maybe go to do the URL, it should actually put that in for us. It has, and what I mean by it has put that in for us is it's got the text here. And then in Python, if you want to append some text, you can just put plus and then the other text. So if we run this again, it will still work. And we get the fixtures again. So you can take that one step further by having the variables here as well. We can create a variable for stat. And then we will then go and put the stat into the URL, just in the same way as we did with the API token. So you can just add anything into this. And then under this, you'll see that we have here the URL equals, and then we've got the text. Now what this plus equals does here is appends something onto the end. So you can just keep adding variables as you come and go. So what we could have here is min odds equals, let's say 1.5. So we're guaranteeing that every team we see has won 80% of games, and the odds are going to be over 1.5. So maybe worth exploring. Let's just see if there's any outliers. So we'll go 1.9, and we've also got minimum games played in. So if I run this now, it's not going to consider the minimum odds because we've not added it to the URL. So what we can do is URL plus equals, and Copilot is again saving me a few seconds there, saying and minimum odds equals, and then we have the minimum odds. You can just write min odds like this, but Copilot is just sort of guaranteeing that it's a string because it's going to be sent as a string, the URL. I think if you just had min odds, it would work. You would get away with it. The request plugin would handle that for you, but it never hurts to just convert to a string before. And then the next part of this is we are defining a response. This could be anything. This could be API call. Oops, if I could type. This could be API call, and then you would just do API call.json, whatever works in your mind. I know variables and data labeling and stuff it differs from person to person, and there is no right answer as long as it makes sense to you, as long as it's understandable to you, because this is a personal project. I mean, you don't need to be conforming to, Google's standards or whatever in terms of variable names. So we have API call equals requests.get URL. Now this means it is a GET request. It uses this plugin called requests, and it's a .get, which is a function. So we could say API call equals requests dot, and then you will see all the different availabilities in purple here. And a GET request just means it's similar to how a browser request works, so that we're going to enter the data in here and we're going to get all of the data back. And then this next line creates a variable called data, uses what we've just got from this, so API call, and then calls a .json function because we're working with JSON data, and it converts it into data that can then be looped, can then be processed, and obviously, as we see in the next following lines, printed out. So we've added the odds to the list, and we're a bit more familiar with what to expect. We've got the data here that we can look at. So let's actually print out some more data about the game. So this is lengthy, but it's just for a purpose of the demo. I would recommend just looping through the data, having some conditionals, and then we will work in the next episode on actually sending an alert to a Telegram bot. But if we click play on this, it's going to go away, and if we move this up, it's going to tell us FC Barcelona has won 100% of games this season. 100% of home games this season. They are 2.38. So I've actually just included the whole odds object there. They are 2.38 to win again. That's interesting, isn't it? I wonder if that's Barcelona women's. Okay. I just edited the URL to match the one we've got in our code environment, and it's because they're playing Real Madrid, of course. So yeah, I should have probably added, and they are playing away team. So I just want you to experiment with this for now. And in the next episode, we will connect the bot. We'll go through that process of installing our next plugin, which will be a Telegram bot. So your homework, if you choose to accept, no punishment if you don't bring it in before the next video is uploaded and online, episode 2. I'm going to talk to ChatGPT and I'm going to say, I have a Python script that looks for top-ranking teams for home wins using my Football Data API. Here's my code and an example response from a fixture including the data. I want to ... That's where you add your thing. So I want to, let's just say, show games where both teams have conceded 1.2 goals per game on average. I've conceded at least overall form, and I'm able to just talk like that to it because I'm going to provide it with firstly the code, but then also an example fixture. And this is the powerful bit. So we're going to go to here and we are going to give it the Real Madrid fixture. We can do copy value, and hopefully that doesn't do all of it. Yep, that's just the game. So we can then hit enter. And it already knows our code. So it's not going to change much from the top because it's doing well. It's getting the data for us, as we've seen in the example so far. And it's added a filter in here. Now, why I suggest using ChatGPT is because you can add your code as it is, and then you can see the changes. So you can, hopefully I've given you enough of an understanding on why we've created what we've created so far. This top bit, it gets the data, and that's not really going to change much, is it? You've got your variables here that are set up. And if you want to create another file for another trends page, you can start again, or you can just edit these variables, right? And in the next video as well, I'll teach you about pagination. So how could we look at page 2, page 3, page 4? But again, homework. If you want to progress, hopefully, this will inspire you to just do it. Because I think if I show you everything in one video, one, it's going to be a bit long and potentially boring. And two, if I just give you enough that what makes you want to keep going, I think that's the juice. That's the secret sauce, right? That's going to keep you motivated to actually finish the course and just create your own bot. So we can see by looking at ChatGPT that it hasn't changed much in our loop. So let's just put loop there, and then obviously just so there's a bit of a divide between this core sort of intro into the file and then what we actually do here. You can sort of always think of it in these kind of files as 3 sections. You've got your data and how you set up everything, and then you've got the actual computation of data, looping through, creating new data points and objects and stuff and saving it. And then you've got, what do we want to do with that data? Are we going to save it? Are we going to alert it? And this is kind of the actions, if you will. So you've got the data, the initiation, you've got the looping and the data management, and then you've got the actions. So what are we going to do with it? Are we going to trigger an alert? Are we going to trigger a database call? So let me just copy this in for you, and I'll explain what it's doing. So what it's doing here is home conceded average. It's getting that data and it's converting it into a decimal by using the float. Now, again, you probably don't need to convert it because it is a decimal already, but it's just doing it because it knows that's the format it should be. It's just good practice. And in this case, it's saying, show me games where the home conceded average and the away conceded average is 1.2 or more. And it's printed a bit of data for us based on what we gave it. So let's save this and then play. And we can see it's put some nice lines in there as well to break up the response. And we now get 1, 2, 3, 4 games from that first page, remember. So we can see that the under-19s has won 100% of games this season. They are over evens to win again. The under-19s concede an average of 1.9, whereas the away side concede 2.7. So that could just be a very fun game. And you can see the other game, Notts County versus Wrexham. Wrexham usually always goals, isn't there? But I think they started quite slow in the previous game. It was 0-0 at half-time, which in itself was a surprise. This has been an intro into this series, episode 1. If I've rambled, let me know. If there's something you want me to cover, as well as connecting the bot in the next video, please do let me know. If you want to check out the documentation as well, you can do that via the API page. You just click on View Documentation. It will take you to this page where you can view all of the endpoints here. So if we go to Trends, it will then show us all of the available options. Now, if you want to follow along on this video and you want to do BTTS, for example, or you want to do over 2.5 goals, and then you can, these filters then become different. They might be the same, to be honest, if you're looking at BTTS or away wins or something. So that has been episode 1. We've got the API set up. We've been able to test it in the browser, and we now have a Python file that is running locally that is giving us a custom list with some text based on a little filter, home conceded and away conceded, and it's then printing that data. So in the next video, what we will do is take this data and send it to a personal Telegram account.